Welcome back. At our last session, we started talking more in depth about the fire, as you called it. So, this young man who was selling drugs got off easy because his father, Carlo, made a deal to get his son off by giving them information on your father? That's what they say.
Friends of mine, they got sons his age, and they're happy, ambitious.
I know it seems that way, but do you really know these other boys?
How's Rutgers?
You see those envelopes?
Majoring in cash, minoring in ethics.
Things change, huh? When I was in college, it wasn't so much with the sports, but the other Jason. Already ran into some trouble. Carlo's Jason.
He's a mess.
All right.
Did your father end up getting arrested or being charged because of the information that Carlo gave up? No charges were ever filed. It became a moot point soon after. Remember how I told you I wasn't ready to talk more about that one night when I met my family at the diner? When I was first having trouble parallel parking a while back? I think I'm ready to talk about it.
Did you talk to Mink again?
It's Carlo. He's gonna testify.
So that night, like I said, I was having trouble parallel parking in the street right outside of the diner, and I was already running late from the doctor's office. Traffic was a nightmare as usual, and I was just really exhausted. Honestly, if it had been another time, I probably would have just taken a rain check, but as you know, it was around the time of the fire, and I was feeling pretty vulnerable as a whole about my family.
Where you going? I just got here.
I'm really late meeting Patrick in the city. Bye.
I finally managed to park the car, and then I darted across the street. I open the door, and I see my father surrounded by all of these people. Honestly, it feels so strange talking about it, even today. Shit, I'd probably been to way more wakes and funerals than other people my age at that point.
Oh my god.
Oh. But I guess nothing can prepare you for it when it's your actual dad right in front of you. The worst part is, I feel like it's my fault.
How are you the cause of it?
Because I should have been there earlier. Actually, I should have vetoed that whole plan to go to Holsten's in the first place. Why the hell did we think it was a good idea to go out to dinner that night?
Oh, listen, we're not eating at home tonight. I thought we'd go to Holsten's.
We'd just been laying low at a literal safe house, so none of us were safe. Even the family members. All those big, lovely dinners we had at home, but that night we decided to go out.
Tony,
Tony, why don't you
I can't do that.
But you think I don't know that you've done it before?
But how is that your fault? It wasn't your decision or your suggestion to go there.
You said we'd have man of God.
I got meetings with carpenters.
But I would have been more forceful and aggressive and spoken up more about it being a bad idea if I wasn't so stuck in my own head at the time, worrying about my own stuff like Patrick, law school, blah, blah, blah.
Holsten's is the consensus.
The point is, I put myself first and thought of myself first. And I wasn't there for my family when they needed me the most. And this was the result.
I know this is difficult, but I'm very glad we're having this discussion.
I don't know how else to describe it other than to say I completely froze. It was like, all of a sudden, I was being operated by some remote control, and someone pressed pause out of nowhere. Then, all of a sudden, you feel like you're watching it all on TV, as if you're a member of the audience and also a character in the show the audience is watching. And while all this is happening, in your head, mind you, you're still physically frozen. What probably was like 30 seconds in reality felt like an eternity. I know, 6,000 years is nothing in eternity terms. It's like a couple of days here. I digress. And then you go from completely frozen, like zero, to 100 all of a sudden. And then I felt like I was in some kind of war zone, on high alert and watch for anything else that might happen. And that stayed with me for quite a while. I know it doesn't change what happened, so maybe I'm just obsessing. Maybe it's easier than facing the shit that's in front of me, right? If you were kind of stepping back, similar to how you described earlier almost, where you felt like you were watching yourself in an audience, how would you describe your path since that night? It ebbs and flows, depending on what's going on. I try to keep myself as busy as possible. It's easier than sitting and having to think. But right after everything happened, I mean, Patrick was obviously going to be super supportive, but I felt like he and his family were almost like pushy about it.
Don't let this linger on your head now. You know what I'm talking about.
They just wanted us to get a move on and put it behind us. Like, put it behind us? Who says that? I don't know. I felt like they were just trying to close that chapter of all of our lives. I definitely didn't want to be alone. I also feel like I never really got to fully grieve. And maybe that's why it comes back in these waves. It's like I'll have this external armor if I pause for too long or stop and give myself a couple minutes to think.
This is such bullshit!
Stay tuned for the next House of Meadow.